Mitakayaresin, part two of the ethical or moral dilemmas, even though these are not synonymous terms. Ethics is rules of right and wrong, and morality is what you conceive or what you quote know to be right and wrong. And because these scenarios tend to be lean toward the absurd, I've got quite the absurd shirt on right now. I talked to you about you wake up in the bed and you're tethered to a guy that will die if you break the tether, if you break the intravenous hookup. But let me tell you about a well-known thought experiment, ethical dilemma, moral dilemma, called the trolley problem, or the trolley experiment. And it is thus. There is a trolley or a train hurtling down the tracks, out of control, can't stop. Ahead on the tracks, for some reason, are 5 people. And if the train or trolley continues on its present course, it will slaughter the 5 people. You are, I don't know, an engineer, switchman, switch person, switcher. And if you divert the train to the auxiliary track, there is one person on the track that will meet a certain death from the runaway vehicle, train or trolley. So, utilitarianism, right, good of the many outweigh the good of the few or the one, says you let the one person die to spare the 5. On the other hand, deontologically speaking, murder's wrong, period. And if you throw the switch, then you are the acting agent, you are the executioner, you are the murderer. And of course there are variations on this. The 5 people on the track could be bad guys, known villains, not just people on Twitter say that these 5 are villains, but they're actually villains. They've actually committed heinous crimes, and the person on the one person on the track, on the auxiliary track, is a good person. The one person on the track could be, your daughter or your wife, someone you love. And the 5 people are just 5 people. Endless variations. Again, what is the ethical or moral thing to do? Ethical in the sense of they're trying to come up with, the people that come up with this experiment are trying to come up with a hard set of rules. This is what you do if you face this situation. And interestingly enough, this actually has a parallel in real life. I forget exactly when this happened, where it happened, but there was a case in America where there was a runaway train filled with, not explosives, we're not talking Hollywood here, a runaway train filled with lumber and such. And if it was allowed to go on its scheduled course, it would run into a train yard where it was thought that there was a passenger train just sitting there waiting to be walloped. On the other hand, if it was diverted, which it was, it goes into a small town where there's not that many people living. And the choice was made to go to the small town. And through the blessings of God and people being able to get out of the way and the train being slowed by being derailed and the obstacles it encountered slowed down more than the engineers, the people on the, I guess the engineers, the people that were in charge of the train and trying to come up with the best solution. They didn't think that it would get slowed down as much as it did. So something like 13 people in the town were injured, and none critically so. So the question remains, what do you do? If you go by the categorical imperative, the one that I believe in, The categorical imperative that love is the answer. And love is utilitarianism. The good of the many outweigh the good of the one or the few. Christ died on the cross as an act of utilitarianism. In fact, he forgave his executioners, despite the fact that they committed murder. So, categorical imperative of love says that you act for the good of the many. Means a sacrifice that you're going to have to live with the consequences of some very hard decisions. Chew on that a bit. I'll talk to you later. Peace. 4 fingers.